What's up, guys? Welcome to another NBA Rundown brought to you by Run Pure Sports and Run Pure Bets. Today I'm with Tyler Hicks and AP. How's the NBA week been treating you, Tyler?
That's up and down, but we'll make some money today.
Yeah, I mean, Fridays are always tough, but I always look forward to doing the show with you guys and bouncing some ideas off you. And I think by the end of this time, we're going to have some good plays. AP, how did the NBA week treat you so far?
Yeah, it's been really good. No complaints from me on the DFS side. Things are just, I mean, man, it's been one of those weeks where, Big T had a big hit last night. I got one on Tuesday. Betting wise, it's been up and down. I feel like I'm in this little like funk. I'm not going, backwards, but I'm not going up. And so, I mean, you can't complain about that, but you're just trying to find that breakout time and trying to get on a heater again. And so, but that's how it is with the NBA, guys. Like I think it can be volatile, like in the short term, but over the long term, in my opinion, it's one of my most favorite and most profitable sports that we have.
Yeah, I feel the same way. You just have to get through some of these rough patches, and it's weird because we think like, okay, things are different this year, things are more volatile this year. But if you've been betting NBA for a while, you know that it's been volatile for a long, long time. It's a long season, and we know the players don't show up every night. They circle certain nights on their calendar, and other nights, they just go through the motions. So that part can be tough, but you know that going into it, and you make the most of it. So that being said, let's see if the players show up tonight in this first game we're going to talk about. That's the Chicago Bulls. Open at -2. Now it's -2.5 heading to Orlando. The total is 223 here. Chicago's been really good on the road against the spread so far this year. Chicago's 8-12. Orlando's 8-14. Chicago's 12-8 against the spread. Orlando 9-13 against the spread. Chicago 11-9 to the over. Orlando 11-10. And yeah, Bulls 9-2 against the spread on the road this year. So things seem to say Bulls here, but as we know, we just talked about the volatility. Tyler, what do you think? Is this a spot where the favorites roll, or do you think Orlando gets some home cooking tonight?
I lean Chicago here. I mean, both these teams are middle of the pack in pace. You get 16th and 17th over their last five, but Chicago ranks higher in field goal percentage over those 5 games, and Orlando ranks, I think, bottom of the league in field goal percentage. So give me the better shooting team here. I think they dominate this game and win it easily.
All right, so Tyler likes Chicago. AP, what do you think here? Orlando's definitely been lost since losing Markel Fultz, and then you add on the loss of Aaron Gordon. This is a team battling through some tough times. Do you expect to see some home cooking, or are you with Tyler that it's a Chicago night?
Yeah, all signs point to it being a Chicago night. I mean, man, the Magic just do not look good. They have 4 straight losses. Two of them against the Raptors, then the Clippers and Kings. And spread, your Kings are playing really well. I mean, that team is finally looking. They're looking nice. And their lone win during the stretch coming against the Hornets, and they got one against the Timberwolves as well. Otherwise, it's been a disaster for this team. For me, though, I think I'm just going to stay away from the betting side. It's one of those spots where I wouldn't be surprised if the Magic showed up and got a win or covered. And so, man, I just it's a spot I just don't have a strong read on. But like, if I had to bet it, I don't know how I could bet the Magic side. I would have to go with the Bulls. I do think from a DFS standpoint, there's going to be some interesting plays here. Just pulling up their numbers right now. I mean, Zach LaVine, his price has come down quite a bit. Kobe White, he's kind of had a really down and not so much up year. But his price tag is pretty nice. And then you got Thad Young on the Bulls side coming off the bench, he's been a really nice addition in that second unit, which I just think, like, how I see it going on the Bulls side is, if Levine gets hot, then you got Thad Young in the second unit, kind of, helping to facilitate things. And it seems like it could be a really tough night for the Magic for sure.
Yeah, I think the only thing, if you were to take the Magic, you can point to that even with those losses, they probably defend a little better. Unfortunately for them, Levine and Kobe White can beat even the best of defenders. So I lean Chicago here, but not enough to make a play, especially on the road. Orlando, they have a couple fans in Florida. I don't know if it's enough to make the difference. The next game that we have on the board is Indiana. They're currently -1, open at -3.5. The over/under is 228.5. They're going against a team that burned me the other night as I went on the show with AP and JSU. Wednesday, I railed against the Pelicans. I said I didn't think the roster was constructed well. I didn't think that Van Gundy was coaching the team well. And boy, I mean, I don't know if they listened to the show or heard the show, but they went out and proved me wrong. They looked great against Phoenix. They beat them by 20 points. At no point did the game even ever feel in jeopardy. It was one of those rare wire-to-wire games. That moved them to 8-12 on the year. Indiana 12-10 on the year, but remember, they ran their record up early when they had Oladipo. Have not been playing well since losing them. New Orleans also 8-12 against the spread, while Indiana's 11-11. Both teams are over teams, though. New Orleans 13-7 to the over. Indiana 14-8 to the over. Probably why the number has moved 2 points to the direction of the over so far. Tyler, what do you think about this game? Does Indiana get back on track at home, or is New Orleans going to continue to prove me wrong here?
I mean, I lean Indy here. I wanted to get in on that over, but with it getting steamed up, you kind of got to wait. Can't get the worst of the number. So, yeah, I'd lean Indy here.
Prop wise, is there any players that you're circling here? Is Sabonis going to continue his awesome run? A little Brandon Ingram action. Is there anything you're looking for in props?
Probably just Ingram. Ingram's points over. Should be a mismatch, regardless of who they put on him for Indy side. I mean, the big men, Zion, Sabonis, Adams, Turner, they should kind of just wash each other out. So I don't want anything to do with that logjam down there.
Okay. Sounds good. AP, what are you thinking about this game? New Orleans going to make a little streak here, or do you think Indiana gets back on track?
I mean, I could definitely see the Pacers getting back on track here. I think it's going to be a close game. I can't touch the total. I've gotten absolutely owned betting against, and I don't bet a ton of unders, but I was on them the other night against the Bucks. I felt the number was a little too high, and we had just 2 quarters there that went absolutely. The first quarter was perfectly fine. It was like what I expected. And then we had 2 quarters that I think they put up 70-point quarters. And if you're on an unders bet and you get a 75-point quarter, it's going to be a tough night. Man, the only perspective I have here is from a DFS standpoint. Both teams are relatively healthy. I know the Pacers have longer-term injuries they're dealing with TJ Warren, but they don't really have anything new hitting them. On a slate like we're dealing with tonight, I just feel like this is going to be a spot to avoid. But, outside of Sabonis, Sabonis, you can play him day in and day out. He has the safest floor, the safest number of minutes that he's getting. And same with Brogdon. His price is coming up, but, you could definitely make the argument to play him. And then on the Pelican side, they're just a team I'm avoiding right now. Zion, he's like a lock for, I don't know if you guys have been following on the DFS side, but he's been a lock for 40 points night in, night out. And that's just not enough to get it done at his price tag. You need more. And, I think it's this, if we ever get a situation where Ingram sits or Zion sits, one of those key guys, I think you'll probably see better ceiling games out of these players.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely an issue for this team. I think that at first, Indiana was able to overcome the loss of Oladipo, and their role players stepped up, the Holiday brothers. I had talked well about Sumner as well, but I just think that, the lack of talent is kind of catching up to them here. I know that they're really anxious to get TJ Warren back, and obviously, they expect to get LeVert and have him be active right away. So that seems to be a big hole for this team. I do think they're coached well, though, and I love Sabonis here, but probably going to stay away from this game as I haven't had the best success. I think I overvalued Indiana due to their early success, and I don't think I properly adjusted for the loss of Oladipo. So our next game on the slate will be the Milwaukee Bucks. Boy, they're coming off a beatdown of the team we just mentioned, the Indiana Pacers. Now they're laying 10.5 to the Cleveland Cavaliers, who after a hot start have really struggled to find their earlier form. Tyler, what say you? Are you looking at any props or sides and totals in this game?
I really love Milwaukee here.
You think they just blow them out, huh?
Well, how do you beat Milwaukee? You shoot threes.
Right.
The Cavs are taking 19 threes over their last 5 games per game. That ranks 30th. A complete mismatch in pace, Milwaukee ranks third to Cleveland's 25th. And a complete mismatch in effective field goal percentage, Milwaukee ranks second, Cleveland ranks 30th. So I think Milwaukee first half minus the 6.5 is the play here. I'd rather lay that than the full game 10.5.
All right, AP, do you agree with Tyler? Is this going to be a Milwaukee run, or we're going to see some more Friday tomfoolery?
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with him. I don't like Colin Sexton is also questionable. Let me pull it up. Yeah, he's definitely questionable. So I mean, if he misses, that's more 3-pointers that are getting taken away. Yeah, I don't know how they keep it close. Man, I mean, you'd need Chetty Osman coming off the bench and hitting threes, which he's not very good at. Yeah, I see this one blowing out. It's a Bucks game. I like betting overs on these games, but the problem is will the Cavs be able to keep up? So I like the first half 6.5 call. I think that's a sharp play, and we see this Bucks team get out to an early lead quite often. So I could get behind that for sure.
Yeah, Milwaukee 13-8 to the over this year, while Cleveland's 9-13. Milwaukee 8.7 net rating, while Cleveland is -5. So by net rating, it doesn't even seem like the line's enough because I don't think you give more than 1 or 1.5 for home court. Are you going to be loading up on any Bucks or Cavaliers in the slate tonight, or is this a stay away from the DFS perspective?
You can playing that semi blowout script, and actually it's more of a like the second unit kind of extending things with Bobby Portis. He's just been an absolute beast. He's what on Tuesday helped me win some money for sure. He was really low owned, put up like 43 fantasy points. If the game truly blows out, they do pull him in the fourth. But what we've seen is him getting extended run with the second unit. And even sometimes when Giannis comes back in, they're both on the court. And despite that, they're both kind of smashing. So I think this is definitely a game where Portis could get get to work as well. And he's 5,400 on DraftKings coming off the bench, and he's not even touching 30 minutes game in and game out. So I don't think a lot of people are going to play him for those facts, but he's just been a very strong fantasy point per minute player. And the game strip, it looks good here. Giannis, the problem is if the game does blow out, we could only get 28 minutes from Giannis, and so that's going to be a definite concern in DFS formats because you're paying a premium for his price. He's 10.8 on DraftKings.
Yeah, I definitely think, not for sure, but a blowout's a definite possibility. I think this next game that we're going to talk about is very, very intriguing, especially for the long-term ramifications, because I think that both teams will be up for the game, and that's Toronto heading to Brooklyn to take on the Nets. Remember, the Nets are coming off that fantastic win over the Clippers where they fell behind. We were talking about in the Discord a bit, and I said, hey, watch out, guys. Brooklyn's going to come back regardless of this good shooting, and they sure did. We were looking for an arbitrage spot there, and I ended up just riding when I had jumped in at the plus money for the Nets. I didn't even buy back because it just felt like they had taken all the momentum. Now they've had a lot of time off. They're 14-9. I think they're 8-2 since acquiring Harden. Toronto's 9-12, but they've been playing well as of late. Because remember they started 0-5, so that makes them what 9-3 since then. No, 9-4 since then. Toronto 8-12 against the spread. Brooklyn 10-13 against the spread because obviously they lay a lot. Toronto 11-10 to the over. Brooklyn 17-6 to the over. I think their first 12 games went over. So they've kind of regressed to the mean, or the fact that the books are just putting these numbers so high. For example, I'm seeing a 240 total here. Originally when I looked at this game, I liked Brooklyn, but I feel that 5 points is a lot, and I'm not necessarily sure I want to lay it here. I might, as crazy it is, I might be more comfortable taking the over in this game. What do you think, Tyler? Can Toronto keep pace? Would I be crazy to play an over 240 here?
I think I like the over in Brooklyn here because I think Toronto will want to get out and running. Neither team really rebounds the ball well, but both teams are shooting the ball so well. I think you just get up and down play. Points are going to be galore. So I think 240 might be a little low here, spread.
Yeah, I mean, Brooklyn's just been putting up points left and right. AP, Fred VanVleet, I think scored the most points ever by an undrafted player earlier this week. Is he going to be in your lineup tonight?
I mean, yeah, I think all of the big guys, Lowry, Van Vliet, Siakam, and Norman Powell, too, are all in play in DFS format. I agree. I cannot touch an under with this Brooklyn team, with how they're set up and constructed. They're not, good defensively. They score a ton of points. And you got some firepower on the Raptors side. Someone told me the last game that they played, I took over 242, I think, and someone told me I was crazy, and we just got there. There was points galore in that game. I think we're going to see a ton of points in this game too. I think the side for the Nets, -5 is kind of trappy. I see the majority of the bets coming in are on the Nets, and it makes sense. You look at the big three over there. Might as well play them. But, man, Toronto's a scrappy team. I could definitely see them hanging with the Nets here. I agree with you guys, though. I feel far more comfortable in the overs. And if I'm playing this DFS-wise, I definitely want to play and target the Raptors side. Their prices are far more attractive. They get a nice pace up, against a team that hasn't been as good defensively. I think you can play Siakam, Norm Powell. I think you can play any four of those guys. I think they're all very good plays. I'd probably limit maybe to 2 or 3 plays in my lineups. And so then the problem is figuring out which guys to play since they're all in play. That's going to be the tough part, in my opinion.
Now, since the big three have all formed there in Brooklyn, how are the Harden, Irving, and Durant? How are they performing as well as compared to the price point? Are you getting good value playing those guys, or are they just pricing them so high that it's impossible for them to reach expectations?
Yeah, I mean, they demand so much usage and their prices haven't adjusted. It's like the Warriors situation if we go back a couple years when it was, KD, Curry, Clay, all those guys. It's just you couldn't play them because they were all doing fine, but none of them were beating expectation, the value that you needed to hit relative to their salary. So until those prices come down, it makes it really tricky to play them. And, we've seen Harden get there because of the triple doubles he's had. But still, you're paying 10-6 for Harden when we get to see a KD game, we can see a Kyrie game. It's just very, it's a tough situation to tackle.
Yeah, I can imagine that just because of their popularity, a lot of people would be eager to roster them. And then, when DraftKings knows that, they go ahead and they set the prices accordingly.
So the reason you can play the Raptors side, though, is because they're all priced under 8K, and they all play like 38 to 40 minutes a game. Like their 4 main guys are going to play 38 to 40 minutes a game, almost no matter what, unless it just blows out early. You're going to get those guaranteed minutes. So that's why that side is far more playable.
Yeah, and you see Nick Nurse channeling his inner Thibodeau there, so you got to take advantage of that. The next game, Washington at Miami. Tyler, you and I messaged. Washington was able to pull the upset. We've loved to hit the zigzag angle so far this year. Do you think that Miami bounces back? We'll just do some quick information about the teams. That moved Washington to 5-13, still the worst record in the NBA. Miami, a surprising 7-14, but they spent a lot of time without a lot of players on their roster. Let's see if they can gel and get back together. Washington 8-10 against the spread. The Heat, a paltry 6-14. Washington 11-7 to the over. Remember, most of their game in the 240s, though, always high scoring. Miami 10-11 to the over. Surprisingly, Miami has a worse net rating than Washington at -5.3. And while Washington's -4.8. I kind of like the zigzag here. I was surprised that Washington was able to win the other night. I mean, is there any way, Tyler, that Washington wins again?
Well, I mean, with the way this NBA season's going spread, there is definitely a way they win again. So I am not putting my hand back in that cookie jar.
Okay. The total opened at 228.5, 230 now. Low for a Washington game, but obviously that's dictated by the fact that Miami does run a slower pace. Are you looking to get involved here, Tyler?
I'd lean under there. I mean, if Miami's going to try and win this game, I think they slow it down. But, I mean, they could just go out and shoot the lights out. So I just want to stay completely away from this game.
Bradley Beal props enticing to you at all? I know that he's the NBA's league leading scorer and seems to be going over every night. Are you jumping in?
I mean, they're setting that number at like 32.5, 33. I can't really take that high of a number.
All right, AP. So I definitely think Miami wins. It's a question: do they cover a 6.5 point spread, or does Washington have a chance to upset again? What are your thoughts on this game?
Man, I feel like the Heat come back and absolutely roll them. I can't touch the total here because, like, I agree with Tyler, but at the same time, I'm not betting unders in a Washington game. They just play at such a fast pace, and you could get Goran Dragic off the bench, who would benefit from a fast-paced game. And man, here's the thing: like, if Duncan Robinson gets hot, if Hero gets hot, we could see a lot of points in this game too. So I think the Heat come back and just kind of, I could see them blowing them out too. But man, Beal like this, Beal is you can never really count him out this year. It just would be funny, get Westbrook back and they lose because the last time they played him, Westbrook was sitting, right?
Right.
You guys
Yeah,
know?
he sat out after two
Yep.
good performances. He does look healthy again, though. I think he'd sat out before that with injury. This one was just the rest on the back to back, but finally looking to be himself again. And I was saying, you don't fall off that fast at the age he was at. Obviously, he was hampered by something, and it appeared to be that way as he had a little bit of the burst back. Obviously, always a great competitor here, but I still like Miami. I mean, the zigzag just helps even more. I think that if they're coming off a win, it would be a tough game to cap. But I do like Miami here. The next game we have on the card is the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're at home against the Minnesota Timberwolves, two teams that are really struggling this year. The total's 220. I had a Thunder team total under on Wednesday, and it looked dead in the first half. And then it looked dead in the fourth quarter, and their scoring completely dried up at both those halves, allowing me to sneak under. I had under 107.5. It landed on 106, and that was their first game without SGA. Got the little superstar subtraction bump. I don't know if they'll get that tonight. I struggle to wonder where the Thunder's points come from, but then again, anyone can score points against this Minnesota defense. Tyler, did you have a look for this game?
This is another one spread. Two bad teams.
Mm-hmm.
Probably just a complete stay away from me. Maybe right back to what you took on Wednesday with OKC's team total under.
Yeah, and I'm seeing the total's 220 with Minnesota at a pick, so I'm guessing that moved it up to 110. Obviously, though, Minnesota's defense is way worse than the Houston Rockets team, even though they completely blew that game off. Talk about a no-show on both sides of the ball. They look lethargic and disinterested. I don't think you'll get that from Minnesota, who seems to be, struggling to get any game, get back on track. AP, what did you think? OKC versus Minnesota, two of the worst teams in the league. Are you gonna take a side on this game?
I think I would have to lean the OKC Thunder. Like they're just a
Wow. Okay.
scrappy team, and yeah, no, I mean they're coming off a nice win in the same situation over the Rockets, who had been trending upwards. But man, it's like I guess if even if D'Lo's back, the rotations that Ryan Saunders is rolling out, it's almost like they're tanking on purpose. I mean, no one's getting big minutes on that team. D'Lo gets pulled early in the first and then comes back, and it's like I think he's trying to do too much, and so it doesn't make sense to me. The Thunder, you still got guys like Baisley, Horford played good,
He
Diallo
did.
played pretty good. You got, you got Maladon. He was fine. He didn't even shoot very good last game. I think this game is far more interesting for DFS. You have you have an OKC Thunder team that's down many players, and one of the primary usage guys in SGA. You got Baisley, Horford, Diallo, and Maladon, who are all really cheap. None of them are over. Horford is over 6K. All the other guys are under 6K. So you're going to get a lot of minutes, a lot of usage. And so, like, in fantasy, I'm going to stack up this game, at least the Thunder side. Like, I could see myself putting Diallo, Baisley, and Horford all into a lineup. You could even make the argument of playing Maladon. You're just getting so much guaranteed minutes, guaranteed usage there. And you're going up against a team that just doesn't play defense. So I think for me, it's go ahead.
Oh, I was just say when I was sweating that under, a guy that was really giving me, making me worry was a Kenrich Williams. Anyone who
Yeah.
sneaks into your lineup, what is he priced at?
Yeah, we played him last time. He's 3,500, so his price doesn't come up too much. And he is extremely efficient. I think it's very difficult to back a game up. A very efficient game like he just had. So I'll probably be off. And what we're seeing is a lot of people are going to go to the cheap guys here. So you have Justin Jackson 3.2K. You got Williams 3.5K. I would rather play the guys that are kind of priced in no man's land because I think they might be a little underowned. Horford, Baisley, Diallo, those guys I have a ton of interest in. All of them have big upside in this matchup. Horford can get their minimal minutes. I mean, he's just when he's out there, he's producing, he's chucking. He's taking a bunch of threes. You have Baisley who can get it done on offense and defense. He can force a steal, turn it into transition buckets. So I lead the Thunder side. I think it's a great fantasy game.
Yeah, I I think that there's nothing wrong with you just kind of scratching this game off your card and not necessarily betting it, but I'll definitely have eyes on it just to keep an idea on these teams going forward because I like them both and when they're getting big points as dogs. Unfortunately, with the two real low level teams here, it's almost like pick the winner between two bad teams. Not necessarily sure if I want to get involved in that. Another game that I'm not sure I want to get involved with is this one going on in Charlotte, where Utah heads down there. They're laying 8.5 on the road, which is just not fun at all. But this is a Utah team that's 17-5 and 15-6 against the spread. Charlotte 10-12, 12-9 against the spread, but they catch points like this a lot, which makes it tough. Utah's been playing really well. They had that rough loss against Denver, but they bounced back with a win over Detroit and Atlanta. Charlotte's coming off, a close cover if you got the late line against Philadelphia, and I almost jumped in live at plus 12.5, and I chickened out and definitely regretted it. So, boy, LaMelo Ball should be back in the starting lineup. I don't think we'll get Terry Rozier here. 8.5 is a lot to lay on the road, though, but you're definitely getting the better team if you do it. Tyler, are you jumping in on this game?
I lean Charlotte here. I mean, both teams are in the bottom 10 in pace, 20th and 22nd. And they're both middle of the pack in field goal percentage, 17th and 18th over their last 5 games. So, I mean, it's a lot closer than you would think, but Utah has been rolling, so I wouldn't want to get in front of that train. Mm-hmm. So I think this is a wait and see spot. Maybe catch the game live with a bet.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about when the books make mistakes, but I got to give credit to them. I think they made this a really tough number to grab a side. I think you can make a good argument for both sides here. AP, do you want to make a good argument for one of the sides?
I have no read on the side here. I mean, it would be the Jazz maybe. I do have a read on the total, so I think Terry Rozier is probable. So that's going to. Yeah, so that's going to slow the pace down for the Hornets side. I mean, when Ball's in there, he's pushing things, but when Rozier and Graham are in there, they're slowing it down, playing half-court ball with Hayward. And so I would lean the under.
Okay.
But it's definitely a hard lean. Sweating unders, as we've talked about many times on this show, is tough to do with NBA for sure. But that I definitely wouldn't touch the over in this game.
All right, so if you're leaning under, does that mean you're kind of staying away from it as far as your DFS lineups go?
Yeah, you could make a case to play Rudy Gobert. Centers have feasted on this front court of Charlotte. They have Zeller, and it's just PJ Washington's out now too. So I mean, that's probably where I would go. I'm with Rozier back. I don't think I'm going to touch anyone on the Hornets side.
All right, and so Gobert would be probably the best look from this game. All right, I wouldn't have thought that, but I guess it makes sense now that you explain it.
If it stays close, I mean, if it blows out, that's the other risk there too. Gobert's not going to play a ton of minutes.
Yeah, for some reason, even though I think that I think Utah can cover, I don't know if they go wire to wire, 20-point lead. I do see Charlotte kind of hanging around, and that's why I didn't want to get involved in this game because I wouldn't be surprised if this is a game that stays pretty close to that 8 number for a majority of the game, and if you're watching it and you're on a side, you're winning, then you're losing, you're winning, and then you're losing. So I really think this is one of the best numbers they hung today, and I think that it would definitely be a game that I wouldn't mind staying away from. Now we have some home chalk in the next game, and that's Phoenix hosting Detroit. Detroit only 5-16 on the year, but 10-9 against the spread. Phoenix 11-9 on the year and 11-9 against the spread, almost like pick the winner in their games. Detroit 12-9 to the over, but their totals are usually pretty low. Phoenix 8-12 to the over, but their totals are usually pretty high. Detroit minus 4.7 as a net rating. Phoenix 1.6 as a net rating. Boy, I took Phoenix on Wednesday, and I was quite disappointed in their performance. Tyler, do you think they bounce back tonight?
I mean, if this is ever the spot for them to bounce back, it's great here against a shitty Pistons team.
Yeah.
But one thing I like in this game, you mentioned it, Detroit's been hitting a lot of their overs because the numbers are low. Mm-hmm. I actually like the under in this game at 214. Both teams are at. Yeah. I think both teams are averaging pace 18th and 23rd over their last 5. And you look at effective field goal percentage for both teams, they're 25th and 26th over their last 5. Neither team's shooting the ball well. And I think Phoenix's defense is what wins them this game tonight. So I think they just clamp down on Detroit and win this game like maybe 108 to like 98, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested to see if Phoenix can come back on the defensive end. Pace might be a little lower. AP, did you have a look on the side or total for this game?
I mean, man, it's tough. Like, I don't like a lot of the matchups betting wise on the slate, so I'm just trying not to force anything. I like Tyler's call with the under. Phoenix has been a team that I've targeted. Well, we haven't been able to target them lately because the number's been so low. But I could definitely see it going under here. I could see a sloppy game, slow paced game. I guess from DFS standpoint, you could play Jeremy Grant. He's 7K on DraftKings. You can play Devin Booker. He's 7.5. For a while there, Devin Booker, they were like pricing him 8,500 to 9K or higher, and he was just unplayable on this offense. Now he's getting to that range where he's a little bit more attractive. They're dealing with some injuries on their side. I think Crowder's going to be out tonight, and let's see. Yeah, Jay Crowder is doubtful. You have Darius Saric, who's out. Cameron Payne is also out. Would be a second unit backcourt guy. So, I don't know. I think from a DFS standpoint, it's going to be interesting to see who gets backup point duties. If it's Langston Galloway or Javon Carter, who knows? But fantasy, I guess they are priced at a point to where you can make the case to play Ayton. He's 7,100. They're going to need size in there, against Griffin, Plumlee. So I do have moderate interest fantasy wise. It's just two teams that haven't been fun to target at all this season.
Now, when they move those prices, like when DraftKings send those prices and they move them, are they doing it based strictly off player performance, or do they take like percentage owned into it as well? So like if Booker's not getting used at all, will they lower his price, or would it take more like a drop in statistics for them to lower his price?
Yeah, they're looking at, so I think their algorithms are looking at ownership, looking at performance, and making adjustments based off of that. So yeah, that's why we're finally seeing Devin Booker come down. Chris Paul has stayed up there, but he's had a few good performances lately. Mm-hmm. And so recency bias is definitely something that drives price. Like Derrick Rose has been absolutely terrible shooting the ball. His price is really low. And he's just been very hit or miss.
Yeah, Derrick Rose, obviously a name that's been bandied around in trade talks, but hasn't made himself as attractive with his current performance. So let's see if he gets it back on track. Obviously, an older player relying on athleticism, and that's waned since his peak. He was still able to get it done, but yeah, it's been tough watching him play the last couple of games. Hopefully, he can get that back on track. Our last game for the night is a game that, boy, I actually like the Clippers here, but so does the market. Open at -5. Now it's -6.5. They're hosting Boston at the end of the road trip. Boston coming off the loss to the Kings the other night. They looked downright lethargic. They looked tired after their win against the Warriors. That loss moved Boston to 11-9. Clippers an impressive 17-6 so far this year. Boston also 11-9 against the spread, while the Clippers are 14-9. Boston 10-10 over under, so they've been marking them pretty well. Clippers 14-9 to the over, and I think that's because we have this idea of the Clippers as this great defensive team, but we haven't necessarily seen it this year. Not that they're that good defensively, but I think they're really trying to get this new offense rolling that Ty Lue has been installing, and as much as I was kind of questioning that hire, it really seems to be much more fluid than they looked last year under Doc Rivers. So, Tyler, what do you think? Am I crazy if I lay the 6.5 here?
I agree with you on the Clippers side, but I wouldn't lay the 6.5. I'd wait for it live
Okay.
because we both know Boston's going to make a run in this game, and you'll probably be able to get the Clippers at like -2.
Okay.
So I would
Any
just wait for
players that
that
are
live
circling for
spot.
the props? I know that Jalen Brown might be out.
Oh, if Jalen Brown's on, then you have to target Tatum.
Okay.
But other than that, I mean, Paul George's threes, maybe. I mean, I know he's been shooting at a very high percentage,
Mm-hmm.
but this game looks like and feels like it could have like a playoff intensity feel. So I really don't want to get too much involved with the player props.
All right, AP, and I didn't get the exact injury report. Smart and Walker, do you have statuses for those guys?
Yeah, Kimber Walker's in. Marcus Smart's going to be out for, I think, an extended period, a couple weeks. So that's a huge hit to the Celtics, and you could make an argument for the over here. I think the number is pretty sharp though, because what you're going to have is I think the Clippers are going to put up points. It's just if Jaylen Brown gets ruled out, that's definitely going to hurt the Boston side. If he plays, which you have to think that he does, man, I like the Clippers call, but man, the Celtics have been like Tatum and Brown, they're good, and Kimba, if he gets a shot going, they could definitely keep this close. So it's a hard number to bet a side on. So I would lean the over here. DFS wise, Kimba Walker is kind of interesting. I think he's going to have the best matchup against Reggie Jackson or Lou Williams, whoever they throw in there. You got to think that, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what they do. I guess they could put George, Leonard, and Batum on, Tatum, Brown, and Walker. So I think even fantasy wise, this might be a tougher game to target, figuring out, who's going to get all that usage. It's either going to be Tatum or Brown. That's what we've seen. And I think Tatum got it done last time. So if Brown plays, the zigzag theory is definitely one that works in the DFS world too. So if you believe in that, you go to Jaylen Brown, or you play Kimba Walker, who's only 6'5". And man, he's kind of been struggling with the shot. I'm pulling up his numbers right now. He hasn't looked too impressive over his last 3 games. And I mean, the Lakers is a tough matchup for sure, but the Spurs and Warriors, not too tough of a matchup. So he's a guy that definitely needs to get it going for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the Celtics have been an under team on this road trip. They went under in the win over Chicago. They went under in the loss in San Antonio. They went under in the loss to the Lakers, went under in the win over Golden State, and their lone over was against one of the worst defenses in the league in Sacramento. So Celtics definitely been trending to the under as of recently, but it'd be interesting to see how they get fired up and how they respond to the loss. Let's see. Let's just do the best bets before we get out of here. Tyler, if you have to pick one prop, one side, one total for the day, what is your best bet for the day?
The Detroit Phoenix under 214.
All right. AP, what is your favorite play on the card today?
It's a tough one. I'm going to say the Raptors Nets over 240. It's a big number, but they've been crushing like any number that the books throw out there. So, if it's not broke, don't try to fix it. Might as well keep riding with that.
All right, and my favorite play for the day is going to be the Miami Heat -6.5. I think they bounce back, and they bounce back big against the Wizards team that I don't necessarily trust. And if there's any team to get your offense right, it is the Washington Wizards. So thank you for joining us, guys. AP is with us every Friday. We'll be doing Monday. Wednesday will be JSU and Big T, and I'm going to start trying to organize and get some guests for Tuesday and Thursday. So I'll be reaching out to everyone on the team to see those days as football winds down. And NBA takes center stage. We're going to be upping the content as well. Speaking of that content, head on over to Run Pure Sports for all the DFS content needs, and head over to Run Pure Bets. Grab the bet side. You can grab them both for $100 a month. Any questions, go ahead and reach out to anyone on the panel. We'll go ahead and guide you through the best ways to make use of the information possible. I wanted to thank you all for joining us, and hopefully we run pure tonight, and I'll see you guys next week.